Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, Elizabeth. Can you share with the listeners just who you are and what your story is?
I call myself the spiritual investor that just kind of it brought itself together about 8 years ago when I started doing this. I was a financial trader for a lot of years. So I traded oil and natural gas. So I was pretty inundated in the financial world. And then I retired early at 39. And then I decided, okay, what am I going to do? Ended up buying a horse ranch and doing a lot of work with rescue horses. And so anybody that kind of is in my world knows that I love horses. And um, then I started helping people with their money. And I've always helped them with an element of energy of money kind of tied to it instead of just the straight up financial here's how you do it kind of stuff. And so that's kind of how it merged together. And honestly, it's always been the way that I have lived my life and built wealth for myself is very much like, okay, well, you create the investment, like you have the foundational principles and you want to have some strategy behind it. But I think living in a spreadsheet's kind of boring myself. I'm more of a creative. I'm a visionary. I'm not that detail oriented, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of people think that you have to be all those things to be good with money, and you don't. And so you can actually sort of wave a magic wand and live the life that you want and still be wealthy. And I guess that's what I like to help people with.
Yeah. So, what does that look like? Because I totally agree with you. And I agree that the more that people grip onto money, the harder they have of attracting money into their life. So, what does your lens look at on how to make money, but also have fun making money?
It's funny because I think that if we really look at sort of where we are in the terms of our own expanded consciousness, I think that we're not really willing to do things that we don't like doing anymore. And sometimes those things are still present in our lives, but I think that deep down we're looking for ways to shift out of them. I was in a corporate job that I bought my way out of because I didn't want to be in that anymore, right? So I was in that, but I was of the awareness that I was moving out of it. And so I think that's what it looks like. I think what it looks like is putting your energy towards the things that do light you up, but also at the same time, not ignoring the what is of what is now and seeing that that's a strategy too. And to be able to make a transition of I think that people are so locked in the way that things need to look that they don't realize that it's like there's a zillion different ways that you can slice and dice and do it. And for the most part, I think people feel trapped when they're not actually trapped.
Especially in today's economy where you're in the US, I'm in Canada, but our governments are printing money as fast
Hmm.
as they can. So it's not like there's a lack of money in the world right now, but there's this a little bit of a constricted feeling that people are having because the cost of things are going up so fast, which causes a lot of people to turtle and come from this place of scarcity.
Do I work with people with fear and scarcity? Absolutely. I think that, God, you'd be hard pressed to work with people with money that don't have fear and scarcity, right? I'm sure, Jen, it comes up for you constantly, right? I don't focus a lot on that because I don't want to create more of that. What I do is when people come into the program, and there's various different levels that you can come in at, various different ways that we can work together, but it always involves in the beginning forgetting who you are. And I just don't know really the information that I'm going to teach, or whether I think it really what a lot of people teach. It's not really going to get in at the level that you're at now because you're looking at your world as like, here are my options. And so by me coming in and giving you five different options, those options are limited by the comparison of what you already consider an option. So you're choosing from inside the box of what you have that is invisible that you don't know you have. And so until you are willing to blow open the doors on that completely, for instance, like I have a mastermind that I run that's 12 weeks. And the first third of it is they don't know who they are after the third or fourth week. And they're looking around a little bit like in wonder, right? And I warn them, I'm like, okay, well, we're not even going to really talk about money until we get to that point. Then we come in with the things about expanding money, becoming the money conduit. So that would mean increasing your income because everyone can increase their income and take a certain percentage of that and expand it using investing. Everyone. And to be able to do that, you have to get away from what that looks like. And you have to get away from the amount. You have to get away from the, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to do it that look like this and da da da. But I think we want to do that anyways, honestly, Jen. I think that we're looking to adventure and discover new parts of ourselves. I actually don't think that we're afraid of the unknown. I think we're afraid of letting go of that version that we know. And I think that as long as we get real with that, I think what we're really craving, we're not actually allowing ourselves to have.
We are our own limiter in all of that. And you touched on a huge point there. Our context of who we think we are, that's a weird sensation to allow yourself to go into, oh, there's more out there. Like the beliefs that I'm currently holding about, yes, we're talking about money right now, but everything in your lifestyle, those beliefs can crack and crumble and fade or shift if you allow them to.
And I think in order to do that, you have to look beyond, well, what am I going to maybe do in order to increase my income? You have to go beyond it and go, no, I'm excited to meet who that is on the other side of doing that. I really don't care what the doing is. I care about, I want to meet her over there because she's the one that has more answers than the her that's sitting here now.
That's a fun way of looking at it. And how did you, I'm curious, get to this point for yourself? Because you call yourself the spiritual investor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you come up with those two kind of different, well, not in my world, because, hey, we are on a podcast about manifestation and money, but I'm curious how they came together in your world.
Well, they kind of just did. Someone said it, and someone started describing the work that I was doing. The brand kind of put itself together based on just I had started living my life this way. Like I actually had one of the very first vacation rentals in San Diego. It wasn't even a thing. Airbnb didn't even exist, and I was buying rental property at the time. And I remember there were three other in the entire city of San Diego, which is like 2.3 million people, right? And there were three other short-term rentals. And I thought, God, that's a good idea. I'll just try that. At worst case, I can just rent it out. Well, then I was also donating a lot of money to horse rescues. So then I thought, well, I don't need all the money from it. So I'm just going to donate a portion of it to horse rescues. And I did. And it ended up, oh my God, that thing was booked. Like you couldn't even get a space in there. I charged whatever I wanted to charge. So more money for me and more money for the horses. It ended up, the HGTV contacted me. The whole thing ended up getting, the film crew came out and filmed it. This whole little project became incredible. And I looked at this one day and I was like, holy shit, there's no way that I could have like written down on a piece of paper what this was going to look like. I couldn't have designed this. This was a universal design once I let go of what it needed to look like. And I was like, I'm just going to have a good time with this. When I opened it, we had a sushi party for the whole neighborhood because we wanted to make friends with everyone and let them know what we were doing and get them on board. And they would have family members come and stay because they didn't want their parents staying at their house. And it was the most beautiful project. I had that for years and years. And of course, then the property quadrupled and it ended up being a great wealth asset, but it ended up being an adventure and it ended up being a socially conscious thing for me, a giving back to the world. And then what happened is that just set my bar. It just set my standard. I was like, I'm not going to do anything that doesn't meet up to the level of this. And my God, my life has gotten more and more magnificent since then. It's crazy.
You must be this beacon then for your students that you're working with who are stuck in the, oh, I have to go to work. I have to get the job. I just have to ride it out to retirement. I hate it. Yes, I'll put some money into investing. But you bring into this whole different dimension of, but you can add in these elements of play and fun and the adventure aspect into them along the money making
Mhm.
journey.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you said dimension, like you're spot on with that word, because that's apparently what they tell me they do. They stay in the energy of this. You could say it's me, but I don't know. I don't even know if any of this information really. I think we're just kind of conduits for information and it's just kind of flowing through us. They stay in the energy of it. And then what happens is they're exploring and discovering new versions of themselves, taking it back out into the 3D world, applying it in little ways that don't feel so scary, seeing how it's working. And then that momentum catches on, and then they're off to the races.
Mhm.
But it is actually the things that I'm teaching, I teach them in more of a practice form because I'm not out here to give you advice. I mean, yeah, I guide people as far as like the financial principles and investing and stuff like that, but I'm not going to tell people what to do because they don't need to be told what to do. I think that people have the answers within themselves. I don't want to be told what to do,
Mhm.
but I like it when someone's like, hey, by the way, have you thought of this? So
Yeah.
you put yourself in a structure. And I think that we're all kind of like going through this where we're realizing that everything's based on a frequency. Everything that comes to us is based on a frequency. Whatever the frequency we're at, that determines the opportunities that we have access to. And so anytime we put ourselves in the energy of a person, this could be a relationship we're in. I mean, money is a relationship in itself. It could be just the top 5 people that we hang out with in our world. We're going to shift and mold based on them and them on us. And so I think that people, as their standards rise in terms of they want more in their life, but they're not willing to sacrifice for it, nor should they, because, you know, abundance is not about sacrifice. Then the way that they're getting it is they're surrounding themselves by new structures. I mean, I'm sure this podcast is one of them. People who are listening to this, they're in the energy of this, and this is helping them.
Right. Just to ignite that little spark to go, what's
Yeah,
possible for me?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So when you're working with your clients, and you said they had to kind of lose their identity first, can you give us an example of an exercise that you'd walk through with them to help them break down the walls of what their current reality is?
I do a lot of like workshops with them and I do a lot of guided meditations. I customize those based on who is in the group at the time. I would say the most powerful one that I do, and I do this strategically at the very beginning, is I teach them how to drop their past. And that is the one that really, I think, really like shakes people to the core. Because myself, I don't want to go through and try and fix every money belief or like lean into all of that. The conditioning is the conditioning. And we can't even compare it. You can't say your trauma is worse than my trauma is worse than your trauma. That's just 3D. That's just comparison. So I'm like, why even deal with that? I like the accelerated route. I move fast and I'm very direct and I go vertical. I go deep. Anything that I put my attention on, I am there. I'm very there. And so I ask the students, especially the ones in my mastermind who work directly with me, I'm like, be ready, right? And so because of that, they're ready. And the drop, the past, especially if they take it, because they'll get the recording of it. And like I said, it's been custom made for them. And when they listen to that, I mean, they look around the room differently. It is a different state of being. And it's not to say that you always stay in that, though, right, Jen? So what happens is, and that's why it's more of a practice, then the next session, they might come back and go, oh my God, I feel anxiety or I feel scrambled or I just went backwards 10 steps. I'm like, good because it's part of it. That's the thing we have to get rid of. This whole I need to feel good all the time and the money is a flow based on ease and all of that. It's true, but that doesn't mean that you need to feel good in order to be open to money. Receiving money and feeling good is not equanimous. It's not. And the polarity, meaning the contrast, is just as important as the good part of it, right? The feeling good part. So that's another thing that I help them with is coming into an equilibrium that you're just living life. And once you do that, you stop giving your power away.
Those two things sound so empowering because by dropping your past, our past usually shows up in our current life as excuses. Well, I can't do
Totally.
this thing because of this limiting belief I have. It shows up as excuses. So if you're helping people drop their past, you're separating the current right now moment, which
Mm-hmm.
is the only true moment that we are living, is right here. We're not in the future. And if we can find a way to separate ourselves from the past, I see huge power in that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And you're right.
It would be fascinating just to be have a bird's eye view on your students the beginning and then the end. Like the transformation that you see in them must be fascinating to watch.
It is fascinating to watch. Actually, I was just reading something from them this morning because we're in week 5 of the current session. And usually around week 3 is when the messages start coming in with Like you've changed, everything's changed. Everything in my life has changed. My relationships have changed. The way I look at myself, my confidence has changed. Things that they've been wanting to do for a lifetime. Why? It's not me. It's that they have let go of that broken version of themselves, which allows them to see themselves. So they're really seeing themselves finally through the process, is what it really is. It's quite powerful because I will say, like, I am learning and I benefit just as much. Every round that we have, I tell them at the beginning, I'm like, you're going to change me. And it does, because my standards are always going up, 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 based on how can I position myself that I can be more open and available and go deeper and be more vulnerable. I'm always pushing my edge too, because I'm not going to come out here and ask somebody to do something that I'm not going to do as well.
Mhm.
Like, I can't, people talk a lot about authenticity these days. That's like a buzzword that goes around. Well, there's different forms of authenticity. Sometimes authenticity is just the loud expression of your ego, and people feel like it's authentic.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. Sit with that for a minute. Because
Yeah.
you could be telling yourself you're showing up authentic, but really
Yep.
it's your ego that's just puffing their peacock feathers and it's like, here we are. But that's
Yes.
really you at your core.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
Especially if it's something politically correct or wonderful or amazing, or especially if someone has, they're setting a boundary with someone or something and they're wanting to be their authentic self. Like, I don't believe all that. I think we have to call bullshit on ourselves, because I think most of this that we're sort of saying is authentic, I don't even know that it is.
I love that. And I really do love that because I feel like what you're saying is true. There's kind of a buzzword and it's like, oh, I'm going to show up authentic. But to sit with that and really dig into that and just
Hmm.
keep asking yourself, is this me? Is this me? Is this actually me? I'm going to do that to myself later. Just to sit with it, right? And
Yeah.
journal it out a bit because now I'm curious. Is there parts of my ego that are actually stepping in where I'm like, that is me, but maybe it's actually not.
Yes. And that is another thing I do take them into kind of later in the process, which is your body tells you a lot of stuff, but we kind of misread the signs a lot. I know sometimes for me, if I start to feel really emotionally charged, and then I've been like mad at this person for a year, I've been, and then I'm associating feeling emotionally charged with the person because that's been the connection that's been in my brain, when really it's not. So part of it is disconnecting from our own illusions that feel like truth. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably easier said than done.
Hmm.
Or is it?
It's tricky because it's like, how do we know if something is truth or not truth when we're the ones who are looking at it?
We can all be
Right.
sitting in the same room, seeing the same thing, and each have our own take on that. And that is our truth of the situation.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's really the only thing that's true, is that there are multiple truths.
Right. Wow. Okay. Lots of deep thoughts going on here. One question I have to ask you, which I always ask on the show, is what is your biggest piece of advice for people to go out and create a life of financial independence?
I would say from a sort of theoretical, like visionary, it would be define the one thing that feels free to you and move towards that. I would say from like an investing sort of financial foundation aspect, diversification is the way to financial freedom. When you are diversified, not so much that it's like too spread out, but when you're diversified to the degree that whatever happens in the economy doesn't affect you, that's financial freedom to me. To me, financial freedom is not an amount, because, anything can change with that. But I
Mhm.
think financial freedom is really being like untouchable.
No matter what the economy is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where can listeners reach out, catch more of you, continue this conversation with you?
They can listen to the Spiritual Investor podcast. That'd be one of them. Instagram. I love Instagram. So it's just Elizabeth Ralph, my first and last name, just all one word. So I would say those, or thespiritualinvestor.com is the website. So if you want to look at like the different programs and stuff there, we have our starting program's $17 a month, so you can always just jump in and see what you like and, play around and see if it resonates with you. I mean, this is the great thing about living in this time and space is that sometimes things resonate with people and sometimes it doesn't. And like, I love it that we have so much available to us because I might be saying something or somebody else might be saying something. Really, it's like whatever connects with you. I would just say that whoever you listen to, you definitely should be doing something with regards to your money that involves expanding your money because we can't keep up. Like you mentioned, like the cost of living and all that. You cannot save your way to wealth anymore. That's very rare. And so investing isn't really an option anymore for people. So if that's any, I guess, quote unquote advice I would have.
So if you're a person that currently has money tucked under their mattress, they should reach out to Elizabeth and see what they should be doing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining me on the show today,
Thank
Elizabeth.
you. Thank you.